See.
Good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us here at First. Oh, I'm so sorry. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here at First Unitarian Church of Toledo in our virtual service. We're so glad to have you. Please join us also for a virtual coffee hour after the service. It's on Zoom and we'll have that password and meeting code available. If you haven't joined us before, we welcome new faces.
Our opening words are by Elizabeth Mount, titled, "It Will Be Enough." In ancient times, they said, Dayenu, it would have been enough to have been spared after the plagues. It would have been enough to have been freed of slavery. It would have been enough to have had food in the desert. Now we question, when will it be enough again? Dayenu. Will it be enough to stay home? Will it be enough if we are deemed essential as we are made to work? Will it be enough to wear a mask as we go to the grocery, to the office, to the gas station? Will it be enough to keep us well in the midst of plague that has not passed over? Now we wonder, worry, wish for answers. Dayenu. It would have been enough. It will be enough again. If the story of Passover is told and teaches us how to live in this time, it will be enough. If the stories of our ancestors bring us hope for tomorrow, it will be enough. If we join together in remembering that we all come from people who have survived again and again, it will be enough this year as it is each and every year. Dayenu, it will be enough that we are together today. Come, let us be together.
Our chalice lighting is words by Nancy Reed McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls or, for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in space. I see you. I hear you. I love you. And I light this chalice, a beacon of this community, holding us all together here now.
And now our covenant. Please join me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now for our congregational singing, we have a song that you will recognize the tune, but there are lyrics that are new to us. This is titled "Church is More Than Just a Building," and we do have lyrics on the screen.
Church is more than just a building, more than wood or metal or brick. Church is how we love our neighbor. Church is how we tend to the sick, feed the hungry and heal the suffering, welcome strangers and give to the poor. All our service is as worship, all our presence an open door. Church is more than a weekly gathering. Church is faith that's come alive, filling hearts and minds with passion, peace and hope that ever abide. Even as the building's empty, we are touched by the deepest of is more than just a building. It's a work toward a world made new.
And now it's story time with our religious educator, Kristen Olson.
Hi, today's story is from Tapestry of Faith, and it's called Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom. Marissa's mom could tell there was something wrong the minute Marissa slunk in the door after school. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing." "Come on," her mom coaxed. "I know you better than that. Sometimes it helps to talk about things." "I'll tell you what the problem is," blurted out Marissa. "The problem is Jordan is a crazy, nasty, lying little..." Marissa caught her mother's raised eyebrow and finished the sentence. "Which?" "Wow," said her mother. "I thought you two were BFFs." "Yeah, well, that's what I thought until she started yelling at me for no reason at all. Honestly, I just asked her about her weekend, and before you know it, she's yelling about why I'm so nosy and why do I keep poking around in her business and I'm always in her face, which is just plain not true." "Sounds like she really lost her temper with you." "Lost it is right," yelled Marissa. "I'm done with her. I don't need to be treated like that. She can just find herself a different best friend because I'm never speaking to her again." "Well, that's one solution." Marissa's mom's voice was calm. "Don't tell me you think I'm supposed to go back and apologize or something. I didn't do anything." "No, I didn't mean that. I just wonder why she would go off like that. I don't know. I guess she's not the only one yelling these days. Last week she told me her parents were always fighting and she thinks they might get a divorce. So maybe you weren't really the one she was mad at." "Maybe, but that doesn't give her the right to yell at me." "No, it doesn't. But it might give you a different kind of perspective." "Perspective?" Marissa was confused. "You know, a different point of view." "You mean that I should try to see things the way she sees them?" "That's one way to get a different perspective, but really what I mean was that you might be able to shift your way of seeing. If you look at the situation differently, you might find a good way to handle it." "Like what? Stand there and get yelled at? Or am I supposed to fix her parents' marriage so she's not so whacked out?" Marissa's mother smiled. "I don't think either you or Marissa could do that. But you reminded me of a famous prayer which might help you try another perspective. The prayer goes, 'Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.'" "I think I saw that on a bumper sticker before," Marissa was intrigued. "But what exactly is serenity?" "Basically, serenity is like peace. When you feel serene, you feel calm and centered. You feel okay about how things are, or at least that you yourself are okay and will be okay." "Huh. Say the whole thing again." Marissa's mom repeated, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference." Marissa thought about those words. Then she said, "So with Jordan, I cannot change the way she yelled at me, and I cannot fix her problems with her parents, but I could try to be calm about how she acted. Maybe let her know I'm still her friend and give her a chance to talk about things if she wants to." "Exactly." Marissa felt less upset already, but she wasn't sure what to do. "Jordan was really acting like a freak," she said. "I'm a little scared to talk to her." "I'm sure," Marissa's mother said sympathetically. Then she said, "Let me tell you about the man who wrote that prayer, Reinhold Niebuhr. He was a Christian minister and a pacifist. He believed Jesus' teachings meant participating in wars was flat out wrong. But then the Nazis came into power in Germany, and Niebuhr was born and raised in the US, but his heritage was German. He felt shocked and saddened by what the Nazis were doing. And as the US got ready to go to war against the Nazis, he really struggled with what to preach. What did he do? I guess he found the courage to try to change things. One thing he changed was his own thinking about the war. He preached that it was important to go to war to stop the Nazis. I'm sure it took courage to let go of his pacifism, but he did. Do you think he felt serenity about the terrible things the Nazis did? The things he couldn't change? Marissa wondered. Serenity doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop wasting your energy being angry about things that have already happened or tackling problems that are not yours to solve. Try to find your calm center when little things do not go your way, like not getting to watch the movie you want. Serenity calms you down so you can find the courage for the changes you can make. Yeah, sometimes even little things don't feel that little. True. And a fight with your best friend is always a big thing. But if you can work on the serenity to accept the things you can't change, the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference, you'll have gone a long way. I guess so. Can I call Jordan before I start my homework? Sounds like wisdom to me, Marissa's mom smiled. And so, as the kids go back to school or not back to school, so some are online and some are hybrid, or maybe some are doing homeschool for the first time. We are wearing masks. A lot of things are different. So we need to find our serenity to accept the things that we can't change, the courage to change the things that we can, which is ourselves, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Now it's anthem time. We have Mickey and Bonnie today singing a song written by Unitarian Universalist troubadour Jim Scott.
Absolutely. And this chorus is something that I invite you at your home. If you feel compelled to sing along, you're welcome to. It can be something of a mantra to say to your loved one, to yourself, or whatever you need in this moment. I will shelter you. I will follow you with sunlight, migrating clouds that fly with the wind, nearly calling aloud, and through the watchful night that embraces where you are, I will be your sky of stars. I will shelter you. I will shelter you. I will shelter you. I will shelter you. Safe harbor I will make you under shimmering angel wings, and I will shelter you.
Thank you. Please join me for a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Sometimes with everything that is going on in the world and in our lives, the best move is to turn inward. For our meditation, contemplation, and prayer, we think of the world's troubles and we center. We think of some joys. Happy birthday to Jewel and to Colette. And we have hopes as well. We think of our hospice patient, Dawn, who I'm told is doing a bit better. And we hold the individual joys and sorrows. We hope for a way out of all the mess in the nation, in the world. And yes, we do look for health. This reading is by Tess Bomberger, and it's called Surface Tension. Of course, there are people behaving badly during this pandemic, using it as an excuse to practice prejudice, to hoard, to blame, using it to divide and weaken us, cashing in on surface tensions for their own terrible benefit. The news daily shows these heavy things. In nature, surface tension gathers water molecules together so tightly that they form a sort of membrane across which light things can dance. Leaves, insects, the wavering sun. It is why rain falls in discrete drops and babies can blow bubbles. Surface tension makes life possible. It helps drops collect along subtle edges of pine needles or leaves, run down to water roots, then helps sap rise to nurture those same gatherers of sun and water. Bitter tannins in chartreuse mosses increase the tension so larger drops can form, held aloft by their fragile villi until they can be absorbed or used to foster new life. Here's the other picture revealed by this pandemic. People are reaching out in kindness and concern to acquaintances, neighbors, strangers, creating aquifers, revealing watersheds running through the tiny capillaries of human hearts, minds, homes, streets, and neighborhoods. Could the bitter tannins cause such large drops to form that we can scarcely hold them up until they can be absorbed, until we can use them to foster life? Let us open ourselves wide to gather them so we may send them to the suffering, the grieving, the caregivers, and all the workers who always were essential. Let us send them across all those spurious divisions because there is a deeper, humbler, more beautiful truth. We deeply need one another, especially now. We can pull together across distances to form a surface across which light things can dance and which can nurture life. Let's observe 1 minute of silence.
Our reading today is called Choices by Marcia Stannard. Yesterday, there were fewer cars at the arrivals dock at the Portland airport than there were dogs being walked on my block. Yesterday, a friend reported a clandestine meeting, a walk with her elderly mother, careful to keep a 6-foot distance as they strolled together in the sunshine. Yesterday, schools were closed, and bars and restaurants. We no longer gather laughing in bustling crowds of strangers who might become friends. But today, people in Italy sang together out their balconies. Meals on Wheels drivers put bags of food on doorknobs, backed up 6 feet, and waited to see if the seniors were okay. Today, the technology that we swore was killing our relationships, those phones our youth sink into, ignoring the world in front of them, is saving us. Letting us gather, see one another's faces. Tomorrow, fewer people will sicken and die if we keep our distance today. Imagine if all difficult choices had such clear and obvious results, and then living as if they do.
I speak about health and healing from time to time, but I hadn't counted on having pandemic-centered sermons be recurring. Our May 3rd service had the title Pandemic Progress Update. We need to take time periodically on Sunday mornings, as these are kind of the core of our congregation being in community, to focus on what's keeping us from meeting in person, and to consider how we might live safely in light of the coronavirus, and what is needed for us to get back to physical proximity. Though we'll have new ways of gathering, and I doubt that things will be as relaxed as they were in 2019 for a long time. For this pandemic progress report, here are the latest numbers I've found for COVID-19, the SARS-CoV-2 novel coronavirus that has changed our lives. 1,331 COVID-19 coronavirus cases in Lucas County, where we're located. Oh, I'm afraid I did not update those numbers from May, but we'll get to that. Let me tell you this, as I understand it. In May, we had 1,331 COVID-19 coronavirus cases in Lucas County, where we're located, and 119 deaths. There were 19,335 COVID-19 cases in Ohio and 1,021 deaths. In May, there were more than 1,160,000 cases in the United States and 67,067 deaths. In May, there were more than 3,440,000 cases in the world and more than 244,000 deaths. Even with those numbers that have grown greatly, that's a global pandemic on a scale none of us has experienced. And let's hope that when it is understood and treated, there won't be another disaster of that scale in the lifetime of anyone living today, though. As you heard in my Earth Day sermon earlier this year, the climate crisis could be the next in line. The first reported death from COVID-19 in the United States was on February 29th, less than 6 months ago. That could have been revised to an earlier date, as one aspect of our growing knowledge base is a realization that the disease was in our country in 2019, though there was no health monitoring at the time. Those numbers that I gave about the pandemic on May 3rd, 15 weeks ago, were 9 weeks after the first reported death. Now, more than 4 times as many people were infected in Lucas County after May 3rd than before. And more than 200 people died since May 3rd. Lucas is one of 12 Ohio counties at risk level red, having very high exposure and spread, according to the state health department. That level comes with the recommendation to decrease in-person interactions with others, consider necessary travel only, and limit gatherings of any number, not even a group of 10. In Lucas County, our newspaper, The Blade, reports health department statistics that state that coronavirus infections in the county are most often white working women in their 20s, but the most likely to die are white men in their 80s. That's a change from April and earlier. In Toledo, The Blade reports, police are breaking up nighttime gatherings in parking lots as bars and other businesses are closing at 10 p.m. And the zip code where our church is located is one of the 2 highest areas in the county for number of cases. In Ohio, there are almost 90,000 more cases than the nearly 20,000 on May 3rd, and nearly 4 times as many deaths. More than 4 million more cases in the US, and 100,000 more deaths. The lead story on the front page of today's Blade is a New York Times one. Fewer in US get tested for coronavirus. Experts say more screening key to reining in pandemic. Testing continues to be one of our weak areas of figuring out the actual presence of the coronavirus. And worldwide, a growth from 3.4 million cases and 244,000 deaths May 3rd to 21.3 million cases and 768,000 deaths as of this weekend. That is with our efforts to flatten the curve, remember. But we're not good with isolation and confinement, are we? No, we have to get back out there and forget that what we closed down for a few cases has reopened for multiple times as many. This is not over. It's not fading. If the disease hasn't visited those close to us yet, or even ourselves, expect it to. And these numbers are why catching up is important. This pandemic is presenting us with scientific discovery in real time. Research is being done and knowledge is unfolding now, with more facts becoming known based on the discoveries of the day. We're learning that some things, such as medications, turned to because they have shown to be effective in similar diseases, are not effective against COVID-19. There is trial and error, hypotheses proposed and not proved, so we turn to other possibilities. Wise people don't use the same advice as when the pandemic first came to settle in with us. Then, one of the reasons why no masks were advocated was because of supply shortages and keeping the personal protective equipment available for the responders. Now that there is a supply line, masks are called for. And studies have shown that face shields provide additional protection, but still a mask is needed. Oh, and make sure the mask covers your nose. The Blade reports that a link between coronavirus and myocarditis was a factor in canceling or postponing the college football season. Some college football conferences want the big money of major sports, and some student athletes are feeling like a commodity. The disease is becoming politicized, largely around the issue of masks, as it's a poor illustration of freedom. Freedom is not responsible if avoiding the protective measures puts others in danger. Individual freedom and societal freedom are at odds for this, it seems. Still, we make our own decisions, our choices. Some choose to be exposed to as minimal risk as possible, which is the best way, I think. They might not allow others into their house, shop as few times as they can, and when they do, only go at hours limited to keep people who have higher vulnerability safer. Some of us who are conscious of the coronavirus risk relax some rules when family is around, for example. Not necessarily throwing out the rules, but giving slack because of the family bonds. We still might not open our homes even to friends and neighbors, or we do, but we mask. There are two ways in which I've accepted a higher risk. One is that I shop during regular business hours, though I do that as quickly as possible, and I always wear a mask. The other is that while I try to keep appropriate distance, I do permit family members not living with me to share space without masks. Oh, and a third way is with these Sunday services that I typically don't mask for on-camera hour. But it did feel like the topic today being the pandemic, I should wear a mask the whole time. We 8 people here on Sundays are conscious of our interactions and try to be responsible. I don't yet have a good solution for the people in common circles with me who resist masks and don't wear them if they're not required, who might have been exposed or even had a milder case of COVID-19 and don't think that they're carriers. One of the newest articles I saw stated that those who have recovered from COVID-19 have about a 3-month window before they need to be tested again and then risk catching it again, though they are not immune for those 3 months, the article also says. In an in-the-world interaction, I typically avoid trying to educate others about the benefits of mask wear. And I don't usually complain to management about lack of mask enforcement, as the workers aren't paid any extra for the added duty of having their customers follow a mostly unenforceable rule. Instead, and especially if the workers aren't masked, I won't go back to the place. You make your own decisions. Be responsible to yourself and to the community. And while I talk about the displacement of so many people, remember that many of us don't get to stay at home. Some of us are in the labs, in hospitals, fighting fires, giving emergency medical care, in law enforcement, driving trucks, getting your mail and packages to you, and postal workers themselves are not being pleased with seemingly politically imposed current postal service delays. They're making or delivering food to order, reporting the news, stocking grocery store shelves, or running cash registers. Or they're students struggling with a new way to learn and figuring out the combinations of in-person and virtual classrooms. Toledo Public Schools is in what it labeled red light status for school opening September 8th, which means all schooling will be done remotely, and that will possibly last the full semester. All of these people can easily feel as if they're missing out, while the unemployed, the furloughed, want to get back to having regular pay. And we have congregants who want to get back to in-person church. Not yet, I say. The board is making monthly decisions about whether to open our building and what activities we might have. We haven't yet talked in a board meeting about using the same procedure as for weather-related closings, where for snow days, we follow the lead of Toledo Public Schools. If we did that, we would most likely be closed through December. But staff comes to the office when they need to, and they work from home at their discernment. What we will try as an initial move is for our in-gathering on September 13th, which is the traditional start of our church year. The Sunday service, with the theme of Earth this year, will be in our now usual way, on YouTube, with only the Sunday service crew here. But we're planning a congregation picnic for 1 p.m. It will be bring your own food. The only rooms open in the building will be the bathrooms, and we'll be using our backyard for social distancing. We understand that some people will come and others aren't yet ready to take the additional risk of being together in groups, even outdoors with separation. But we do miss one another and see this as an attempt to be both responsible and social. We are religious people after all, and there are religious dimensions to the pandemic. We can use some of our church ways to fight the disease. In religion, we have sacred practices that involve discipline, behavior, personal and societal growth, and betterment. This pandemic is a time in which living freely, while perhaps a goal considering what freely actually means, must be tempered by being conscious of self and others, of the potential for receiving and giving infection. That gets to the maxim of behaving as if you have the disease, for that better protects others and yourself. Remember the golden rule. Use reason and care for your own safe practices in the time of COVID-19. And please keep your good health if you're fortunate enough to be healthy. So be it.
Thank you so much. This is now the time when we might pass a plate. And while we are virtual, we encourage you to consider what you might give and find another outlet for that. We have our in-person donation you might send to the church building here at 3205 Glendale Avenue, if you prefer to write a check. Or we also have our virtual giving. And if you haven't had a chance to explore the new website, please take this time to go to uutoledo.org, click on Give, and then click on Online Giving. It's a great resource, especially while we're not able to go grab a cup of coffee or breakfast after church. Anything you're able to give makes a big difference.
Now to coming soon. Next week, our Spiritual Adventures Forum at 10 a.m. will be membership moments with Pat Church and Elliot Adams. Then our 11 o'clock service continues this month of catching up topics with part 4, Religion and Humanism.
Please join us immediately after service today for our virtual social hour. You can grab a cup of coffee or tea or whatever you like, and we'd love to encourage any visitors on this channel to join us on Zoom. Our meeting code and password are on the screen now. We'll leave that up for a moment. We hope to see you there.
Now, our closing words by Gwen Matthews, titled Feel That. Feel that each breath, every inhale, exhale, we are living, breathing, connected. We are the whole, complete, beautiful selves that we were born to be. Feel that in your bones, in your muscles, in your heart and your blood. That is the extraordinary you, the you who was born for this time, this place, this moment. Feel that, the struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief, it is still you. You are still whole, complete, beautiful, extraordinary. Feel that.
As we send the flame, we hear words by Amy Zucker Morgenstern, "We are one." Never has it been more true than now. We extinguish this flame, but the sparks within us remain alight. From each of us in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly but palpably. We are one, and from every window our light shines.